This week, we are going to be talking about starting the actual speech writing process. And really, aside from analyzing your audience, picking your topic is the first step that you have to take in order to make your speech. You can't make your speech if you don't know what you're talking about. So today we are going to be talking about finding the purpose of your speech and selecting a topic that you are going to be researching and organizing and delivering your speech about. When we talk about finding your purpose, the first thing we have to look at is what is the general purpose of your speech. And if you'll recall, the general purposes of a speech that we can have are to inform our audience, to persuade our audience, or to entertain them. So just as a quick recap, if we are informing our audience, we're teaching them about something. If we're persuading our audience, we are trying to advocate for something. We're trying to get our audience to do something. And if we're trying to entertain our audience, we could be informing, persuading, or neither of these, and just trying to let the audience have a good time. Thankfully for you, I've already told you which general purpose you're going to be doing in each speech, right? So for the first speech, you'll be informing your audience. For the second speech, you'll be persuading them, and then you'll be entertaining them for the last speech. So this part, you don't even have to worry about. I took care of it for you. You're welcome. So next, we have to look at selecting the actual topic that we are going to talk about for our speech. And the first question you have to ask yourself is, okay, what is my purpose? Am I trying to inform my audience, or am I trying to persuade my audience? And this is going to be kind of a touching stone for your topic overall, because you have to make sure that your topic actually informs your audience when you're trying to inform them, and that it doesn't persuade them, or that you're actually trying to persuade your audience and not just inform them about something. So asking yourself what your purpose is a really good place to start when you're trying to select your topic. Next, you have to ask yourself, who is your audience? And you have to make sure that you are choosing a topic that is appropriate to your audience. And we talked about audience analysis in chapter 5, and so you should know who your audience is if you've conducted any sort of audience analysis. And therefore, you have some at least vague idea of the sorts of things that your audience might be interested in. And you have to really know your audience to be able to make the generalizations about them when it comes to selecting your topic. Next, you have to ask yourself, what's the context of this speech? Now, it might be for our purposes in the classroom that your speech is happening in front of your classmates inside the classroom, but that's not always going to be the case. For example, you might be asked to give a toast at a wedding, and the context then would be the formal event of the wedding, and that's going to change the content of your speech. And finally, you have to ask yourself, how long do I have in selecting this topic? What is my time frame? So, for example, can I cover this topic in a 6 to 8 or 7 to 9 minute speech? Or do I have to talk about it for a lot longer? Should I narrow my topic more in order to get within that time frame? Do I only have 3 minutes to speak? And how do I cover my topic in that time? So our time, the amount of time that we have to give the speech, is going to be a really big constraint on the topic that we end up selecting. So really, we want to start broad when it comes to our topic selection and then narrow it down from there. So we want to start with a really broad subject area like art, business, history, physical sciences, those sorts of things, sort of like the major areas of a college, right? And then narrow it down to the majors that you might study within those areas. So you want to start really broad, get really broad, lots of ideas, and then narrow it down to the specific area that you want to talk about. Because again, you have all these constraints. You only have a certain amount of time that you can talk about something. The context of the speech is going to change it. The audience and what they're interested in is a really important part. So I really like this Venn diagram because it shows you kind of how you should think about choosing your topic. So first, you want to start with topics that you know something about. And this is because it gives you that sort of foundational knowledge so that you can have somewhere to start, right? You have some ground on which you can start building your speech. If you don't know anything about your speech, it's going to make the speech process a lot more difficult because you have no basis of knowledge going into the speech. So start with topics that you know at least a little bit about. Then you want to choose topics that you love, because this makes the speech writing process, dare I say, fun. Because when you are researching your topic, when you're trying to figure out how you're going to present the topic to the audience, you're going to do it with passion and you're going to do it with interest. And that is going to change the speech in a lot of really dramatic ways that you don't really think about. So for example, if you are really passionate about your topic, if you love your topic, you are going to talk about that topic in a passionate tone of voice, and therefore your speech is going to be a lot more interesting to the audience right off the bat, because you're going to have vocal variation, your speech isn't going to be monotone or boring because you yourself care about your topic. Finally, you want to choose topics that your audience really cares about. And this is because you want to make sure that your audience is going to be interested in your speech, right? You have to make sure that they want to hear a speech about how to change a car tire or how to do their laundry. And they may or may not want to hear those speeches, right? Your audience has interests as well as you. So they have a lot of really wide interests. And you have to figure out what your audience in general cares about, what they are interested in, and try and tailor your speech to those interests. So really, you should be choosing topics that are some intersection of these three things: topics that you know, topics that you love, and topics that the audience cares about, because that is where you're going to find a lot of success in speech making.